All right, everyone, welcome back into another props video. Give me touching on the top prop bets for today, Saturday. We got a bunch of college basketball props actually popping up. We'll touch on NBA as always, NHL, and we also have some fantasy golf as well. So fun day today. Let's go ahead and get into it. Now, I do want to start with a quick recap. Typically speaking, I'll pull up a recap when there's like a point of emphasis to be made. And so all in all, we had 3 really good bets yesterday, 2 on Underdog, 1 on PrizePicks. Those all hit. We had a huge discrepancy between the two sites for, these 2 prop bets that made for a pretty easy slip to come together for Underdog. And then the other one was another college basketball prop on PrizePicks that ended up hitting, big edges there. So that was good. Obviously, we want to be taking advantage of those discrepancies between the 2 sites. And then I do just want to call out the Underdog slip from yesterday. It was a preview slip, so I kind of mentioned that I didn't love any of these. Turns out I should have, but also turns out I shouldn't have. So this is what the prop lines were bumped to throughout the day, and this was the original slip. So you guys can see very big edges gained. Sabonis was bumped to 43 by lineup block on PrizePicks. This one was like minus 145 to hit. This one actually did end up hitting, which was the second worst bet on the slip. Jared Allen ended up being the worst one. That was literally the only one that was seemingly a bad one. Did not gain an edge there. And then from there, you guys can see 1.5 bump for Jalen Johnson there. He got up to 30. The data was still slightly favoring the over there. Jakob Poeltl got up to 23. And then Pascal Siakam went up 1 as well. Now, I bring that up because this slip only went 2 for 5. I mean, that is crazy, right? To gain that big of massive edges, at the very least, it should have went 3 for 5 at the very least. So I'm highly encouraged by that with those prop preview videos that I've been doing the night before, we've been able to gain a pretty massive edge. If we continue to do that, gain an edge, 1 point here, 1.5 points there, that is going to be awesome. 0.5 point there, obviously with Sabonis. So it's weird. Like, I know it didn't hit, but I'm super excited that we could beat the books like that. I mean, that's essentially what we're trying to do with PrizePicks and Underdog. We're comparing the lines that we get on the sports books there. And so if we can beat the books there, that is pretty awesome, right? And so in the long term, that'll pay off. So it's weird. It was like a very big edge there. Awesome to gain that edge, just didn't work out. I wanted to call that out because definitely on the correct path. I think most people know that, but that's also part of the reason why I didn't want to give that out as a direct bet slip for the day, because all in all, it ended up being correct to like those prop bets. It also was correct to not really want to go in on. Whereas, with this prop, I was like, this is kind of an easy one. We're essentially being forced to do this one because it's too big of an edge. Really not. So I do want to call out one other thing as well. I've added in PGA into the PrizePicks and Underdog cheat sheet. I just want to call this out because of how it kind of works out, the dynamics of it. We're not actually getting sportsbook odds for it. The average sportsbook line is going to be a bunch of the data for that tournament paired against like the player averages and whatnot, live stats, how PrizePicks and Underdog view it. And so that's where we're getting that from because we're not getting odds. Now, I run a fantasy golf database, like one of the deepest in the industry. And so for the most part, this has been a pretty big edge throughout the year, last year and this year. Hopefully it is as well. This is kind of a test trial because it is a slightly different formula than what I was using on the 9to5 golf prop cheat sheet, where we were just kind of looking at the edges that we were gaining. Okay, so it's kind of a test trial. I'll be running these out. We are seemingly gaining a few decent edges here, where Patrick Henley over birdie or better, projected to get 7.3, and then Max Homa over his birdie or better as well. And obviously this is just for PrizePicks right now. I'll be adding in Underdog hopefully at the end of the day today. I just want to call that out that this was something I'm working on. Right now it's only going to be pulling in strokes and birdie or better, just as an FY. But now, sorry for the fluff to start the video. That's why I don't like doing the recap and whatnot. It's just 6 minutes into the video now, unless it's something noteworthy, unless it's something actionable that I can give you guys can just look in the description below, or sorry, in the description below, just kind of see how the bet of the day is happening. So all in all, let's go ahead and get into today's kind of best bets that we are currently getting. Again, we do have the Patrick Henley prop. We are getting some pretty good hockey props there as well. Max Homa's popping up there, but yeah, it's seemingly a good day for prop betting. We're getting a lot of projected edges. Aaron Jones for over 2.5 receptions is another one that's popping up. And so by all means, we can take advantage of those edges. Now, I do want to show you guys the college basketball props that we are currently getting as well, because we are getting a pretty big edge college basketball wise. And I do want to get the Underdog props really before I attack any of these. I'm assuming these won't get adjusted by PrizePicks, hopefully. I mean, we are getting a lot of college basketball props, especially fantasy score wise. So it's no shock why we are getting such big edges, because you take in all the college basketball props that we were getting, and typically speaking, that's where we are getting the biggest discrepancy. And I always kind of say this, that with college basketball, it does seem to be like day to day in terms of who's more correct. Like, it seems like for the most part, the average sportsbook line is correct, as you would expect. That's pulling in different averages from different sports books. But at the same time, looking at that, like on my back end, I like to curate this data for you guys. I don't need you sifting through all the different lines that are out there. The average sportsbook line is kind of crazy because some site, let's just say let's go to an EV bet like points here, and I'm just guessing here, but some sites might have it at 10.5. Other sites might have it at 8.5. The discrepancies that occur in college basketball are kind of crazy between like each sportsbook. And so there are some days where, PrizePicks is better than the average sportsbook line because, well, the average sportsbook line, there might be some that are saying really favor the under, the other might be really favoring the over. And so I think that's the nature of why it's hit or miss. But we can see, guys, we are gaining some pretty big edges here. I mean, it is kind of crazy. I don't remember a slate in which we had like 12, maybe even 20 props just in college basketball that had over a 54% chance to hit. I mean, that is absolutely crazy. Here we go. Josh for under points, 14.5. This one has about a 50% chance to hit at 16. That is clearly too high. We can see this one right here for Isaac McKinley, whatever. It's small print. This has already been bumped up to 10 on Underdog, so seemingly a pretty big edge there. Continuing on, if you guys just want to hammer like a bunch of over bets, you can do that. If you guys want to bet on a bunch of under bets, you can do that. All in all, this has been a pretty big edge for us. I'm going to be running out a bunch of various different slips with this. I might do this where I'm doing the 4 under on top and then going with the next best 4 overs, just hoping that kind of correlates there. But yeah, I do want to see the underdog lines. I'm really hoping that we get those soon because that could be a pretty big edge on today's slate. It's just nice to compare it against both sites as I showed you guys on yesterday's. And then jumping into NBA, guys, NBA, we're not really getting that many edges here. That's why I didn't want to touch on it too much. I mean, really not any. You got a bunch of these teams really coming in on the back end of back-to-back, so tough to really gauge minutes-wise and whatnot. Looking at the injury report and whatnot, the biggest thing that I'm monitoring is really what's going to happen here for Philly. If Maxey is out, that doesn't change too much if Melton's out, that doesn't change too much for me. I probably just want to be on Maxey a little bit, especially in this matchup going against Utah. If Tobias Harris is out though and Melton is active, I think we really like Melton. We know that the issue with Melton this whole season has been whether or not he's going to get the minutes to close out the game. And we have seen when Embiid is out, occasionally when Batum's out, Maxey's out, like that is when we know pretty much for sure that he's going to get the closeout minutes, at least on paper. Like he could get in foul trouble and whatnot, but all in all, that does seem to be a pretty big edge. And then looking at the Bucks, Middleton is probably going to play a full allotment of minutes on the last game. I kind of mentioned that it would be surprising to see him play a full allotment of minutes. That is exactly what happened. If you guys took that advice, you probably gained some edges with Lillard, with Giannis. But tonight he's going to be good to go. Like it was the back end of back-to-back. That's why they limited his minutes. He didn't play the whole second half, but all in all, they're going to be good to go. Pretty good matchup against Houston. Like Giannis should be able to go off. Brooks should be able to have a good game. I don't know if we want to be touching Lillard exactly in this matchup against Fred VanVleet, but all in all, pretty good to go there. And then, yeah, not too much on the injury front. So kind of makes sense right now why we're not getting too many like perceived edges. And personally, guys, I don't love any of these. Like Middleton over points and rebounds, I'm fine with that. 20.5, I think that is one that kind of stands out. Halliburton on the back end of back-to-back, yes, they did crush Atlanta, but I don't really think we need to be touching that one. Another one with Middleton, points and assists you could run out there, kind of fine with either. Jaylen Brown, this is interesting at 4.9 on average, and so we're getting a different lines coming in, still favoring the over there. Miles Turner over fantasy scores popping. And if you guys did yesterday, we had a bunch for Atlanta where the under fantasy score was popping. Turns out the data was right. So if you guys used that in your flex slip, you did pretty well there. Let's see here. Any other that are popping up? I do think Dante DiVincenzo would be a good sportsbook bet. He is someone that has been getting a decent amount of minutes, and I wouldn't mind that over. Let's see here. Yeah, not much else. I'm kind of okay passing up on the other props that we are currently getting. I want to take a peek at NHL as well. And then we also have some NFL. It's a fun day, guys. And I feel like I don't have to mention this, but it's going to be so difficult to give you guys one bet slip with the amount of good prop bets that we're getting. I keep saying this, but man, it's crazy on Friday. We had one really good bet on paper on Friday. And that's been the case on every single Flex Friday. If you just give us, switch the day on Saturday, not only have the prop bets been hitting a lot more on Saturday, we've been getting a lot better bets. It's just a full board. We might need to do I don't know, slumber party Saturdays. That's stupid. What would it be? Sombrero Saturdays instead of the Taco Tuesdays? I don't know. If you guys have a good one, put in the comments there. But we need more fun on Saturdays. But I think that's honestly they do it on Tuesday and Fridays. They know what they're doing. The boards are much more limited on those 2 days. It makes sense. It's smart. Looking at the NHL props that we are currently getting, not too much there. I will say the Aaron one here that we were getting is decent. At 2 shots on goal, you can see the average sportsbook line would still be favoring the over pretty heavily there. The projection data has it set at 2.8, so a similarly good one. This one has a great chance to be a push. By all means, I'd be fine running that one out there. And I do want to call it these underbets that we are getting are interesting in the fact that the projection data is favoring the over here. So for me personally, I'm probably not touching those, even though the data really likes them. That's just kind of my approach. Like a better one would be this one. Again, with these being at an even number, 3.0 instead of 3.5, 2.5 for all these props, they're basically being favored as pushes. Now we can gain slight edges here and there, but all in all, I typically don't like to target those ones that are pushes. With NHL, I typically want them to hit or miss. Like, I don't really like chasing the ones where the lines are that different. Here's an interesting one as well. We got Matthew for over shots on goal. You see the projection data really likes it at 4. That is just a slight edge. I like when all the data points are telling us a message. And so obviously all the data points are suggesting that he should get the over there. So we are getting some pretty good hockey bets. This is just such an interesting day because you guys could be listening to this and finding the best prop bets that you want to make the best slip. And by all means, go for that. And I'm not even suggesting what I'm going to say is like the correct way to go because it's not. But like I'm probably going to split it up into different sports because it's more easy to manage today. Obviously going pretty heavy on college basketball, a little bit of hockey. Got some PGA props. So again, it's going to be super difficult to give you guys a bet of the day just simply because we have so many good bets. It's a volume day and people might not understand that. The whole point behind EV betting is like in the long term, it's going to pay off. Like when you have a lot of very good bets, it just become with thing where it really depends on your strategy. If you're doing 2 slip bet, obviously you're more likely to hit those. And today you could just rattle off 50 slips, with the amount of good EV bets that we have. And you're more likely than not going to end up profit. And if you do 6 slip bets or something like that, obviously it doesn't take as many to hit, and I don't want to say this as a guarantee, or the data says that it just becomes a volume thing that you keep putting out good bets like that. And then just kind of looking at the NFL props that we have, we do have Deontay Johnson for over fantasy score. We can see PrizePicks is definitely the outlier here. So again, with underdog line that is being adjusted for full point PPR. So not always the best calculation, but I think it is today at 10. We can see that's a pretty big edge. The projection data would have it set at 11.6. And then the fantasy score would have it set at 9.6. So that's seemingly going to be a good edge there. I don't really want to touch Devin Singletary receiving yards, but we can see that, 2 yards difference between PrizePicks and underdog, that could end up being pretty good. Christian Watson is definitely interesting. If he plays, I know it's the final game of the year. They need to win to make the playoffs. It kind of makes sense to test him out. At the same time, if you're going to make a playoff run, which I know I'm a Packers fan, but you take away their mistakes, the games in which they haven't made many mistakes, they have crushed. Okay, last week, as an example, not the best team with Minnesota, especially starting Jaron Hall. You look at the game against Detroit, they still had some mistakes, but not as polarizing, and they crushed them. So, like, when they don't make mistakes, they are top 10, top 8 team in the league. I know you can say that about a lot of teams, but to me, it doesn't really make sense to play him 50% of the snaps. They might try that, but with him, it's like he's been so injured. Why even mess around with it? And so to me, it's either you're betting the over on underdog there at 31.5, assuming that he's going to play 70 or so percent of the snaps, or you're betting the under at 36.5, and it might be a DMP. That's kind of my thoughts there. I would rather go with Aaron Jones for over 2.5 receptions. We got Harris for rushing attempts. I do think that this one's interesting. If you think they're going to win, you want to do Harris over rushing attempts. They're going to try to run the football a lot. Last week, they had a lot of 12 personnel in there, so seemingly that'd be the way to go. Let's see here. Any other ones that are really popping up? Not really. We're not getting that many tackles and assist props. Kind of surprising. I do want to show you guys real quickly just the good prop bets that we were getting on Underdog as well. Just a reminder, I do not have the PGA in here just yet. That's something I want to try to do today. I have a lot on the list of things to do today with golf because Underdog, they actually kind of clutched up in my eyes. They came out with a season-long best ball draft. There's some immense strategy that's going to go into that. I've already started working on that a little bit, and I'm excited to touch on that. I might wait until I get a few drafts in there so I can personally gain an edge. I know that sounds a little selfish there, but this could be some pretty big edge. But I am working on that data set. I need to test it out myself anyways. That I typically like to test things out first before getting it to you guys. And so that's what I'm going to be doing this weekend, just as an FY. And then looking at Underdog, a little bit more straightforward, I would say, since we're not getting all those good fantasy score prop bets right now. We got, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 good EV bets. Those are the bets that we should be targeting right now. If you guys want to do an insured slip, by all means, that's what we should be doing. So yeah, let's actually try that out, I think. And actually, just before we get into that, guys, I'm pretty sure this Middleton bet at 4.5 has been one that's been popping up lately. And when we pull it up, I'm actually curious how many times he's gotten that recently, because I don't think he's really gotten that over too frequently. 3, 6, 3. Yeah. So all in all, he should be able to get the over. Like, I get it. It's just, don't always love that. And so actually, guys, they went ahead and pulled the Aaron Jones one. So I'm going to assume that PrizePicks is going to be right behind them. So to me, let's just go with the top 2 bets that we have right now. Chris Middleton over his rebounds, Samuel for over points, rebounds, and assists. We can see these are already 2 that have been bumped on PrizePicks because they are good bets. By all means, let's roll with those. Hopefully they're still there for you guys. I'm going to attempt to give you guys a PrizePicks slip again. So many good bets. If you guys saw those ones that were popping up, by all means, go for it. Oh boy. Hold up. We're getting some fantasy score props. Let me refresh the data on my end for Underdog, seeing if we're getting any edges there. Oh my goodness, guys. This is like a perfect example of the edges we can gain right now. Like, holy crud. For battle, over fantasy score on Underdog, perfect. Under fantasy score on PrizePicks, we can see that's a very big discrepancy. That's a perfect example of the edges we can gain. We got some more here. Devin Carter, under fantasy score on Underdog, over fantasy score on PrizePicks. Another one here, Sheed for over fantasy score on PrizePicks, under fantasy score on Underdog. I mean, this is just mind-blowing, the edges that we are getting today in college basketball. I need to stop this video. I need to go ahead and make these bets, and then I'll give you guys my bet of the day. You know, this is going to mean the video is going to come out a little bit later, but I need to get these prop bets. And I do just want to show you guys the Underdog board real quick, but we are probably going to be doing a lot of middling opportunities. Like, again, this board is pretty crazy how much like edges we're getting right now. Another one here, 2 or 1.5 for points difference here. Bet the under there. That's a very good EV bet. Isaiah Hill, this one's popping up as a good one as well. It's just crazy the edges that we're getting. So all in all, we are like, we need to be taking advantage of the prop line differences that we have. I'm going to show you guys a nice middling opportunity with those bets that we are currently getting. Here's another one where, man, it is crazy the prop line differences, edges that we are getting right now. I'm excited now. Yeah, let's get into it. Now, guys, I typically don't like to do 3 slip bets, and by all means, what you could do is just, you know, do this, you know, pair that bet together, pair that bet together, and then pair that bet together. If you want to do that on both sides, you can by all means do that. We have a very good middling opportunity, and obviously that would be the great outcome here, is that with these big discrepancies, maybe these can all hit. I doubt it, but we are seemingly getting a big edge on one. With that, we should be able to make a pretty good profit. If you guys want to do a flex slip, these 3, by all means do that. We're also getting a lot of discrepancies. I'm going to go through this data really throughout this whole, or right after this video, and make these bets because these are big edges. I don't want to miss out on. And then obviously we want to do the exact opposite that we did for Underdog, or for PrizePicks on Underdog here, where, you know, this was about a 5-point difference. This was about a 5-point difference. This was about a 5-point difference. Going to take advantage of discrepancies there. This is a much better payout on Underdog. So if you're just running out those 2 slips, you're hoping that it hits on Underdog a little bit more, where you can get another unit 1 there. Obviously that'd be great, but all in all, 3 really good bets there. I feel pretty good about the bet of the day with that one. Again, so many good bets. If you guys are going to use that Underdog bet, make sure it's promo code 9-5, push back some money channel, with a way to help me out. And then just want to call it the 9-5 cheat sheet as well, guys. Head on over to 9-5sports.com. That's where it's going to be available. That's where you can see all the edges that we are currently getting. But that's going to be it for today's video. Thank you guys for being here. Make sure to give a like and subscribe. Hit that notification bell as well, so you're not missing on any of the great content. Hit the thumbs up. Appreciate that. Again, if you want access to the 9-5 Sports PrizePicks and Underdog cheat sheet, they're available at 9-5sports.com for $10 a month. Thanks for watching. Let's have a good slate. And as always, let's keep cashing.